Hey Zrax, how are you? Thanks for checking in and claiming your daily cat. Let me know if things are too quiet here. I made some adjustments to my audio. And yeah, trying to figure that stuff out, but we'll see how it goes. Not too bad. I'm okay. It's a very low energy day today. I can't figure out why the music isn't coming through. There it goes. Okay. Hopefully that's not too loud. It looks okay, I think. And we'll see how that goes. Alright. He's super sleepy today. All the sleepies. This might be a short stream. But we'll do a little something. Low-key vibes tonight. Yeah, so I was thinking kind of about our potential paint nights, and I started looking up some stuff we could do. Aside from like regular acrylic Bob Ross, I wanted to look at some digital things too. Because I don't have art supplies right now. And maybe some nights I want to be lazy and do digital art. I suck at both. Camera, I just had you working today. And of course it decides it doesn't want to. Does whatever it fucking feels like. I have disease. Oh my god. Phew. Anyways. Oh. The cats. Ja boy. Very lazy tonight. The tail. So cute. I think I might have fixed my licks too. No, it thinks there's nobody here. That's incredibly rude. I had it working. I swear, I fixed the licks. Try it this way. Oh, that one works. But apparently it doesn't want to work with the regular lick. Yeah, well. Whatever. I don't even know anymore. Oh yeah, my camera used to be on that side. I'll have to move SpongeBob. Right now he's just licking the canvas. Well, at least it works that way. Oh, God, I am so... The allergies today are on point. Yeah, I don't know why the regular lick isn't working. But at least you can, like, specifically lick someone if you want. That seems to work. I don't know. So frickin' knows. Anyway, so we have some options for pictures tonight. I'm feeling in a springy mood. I was looking at like this one. This little nighttime one could be cute. This little window, I don't know, that seems complicated though, but looks very cute. Got this nice little vibe here. A little summer one. This little one. More beach vibe. Look at hiccups. This one's pretty cute.
Okay.
Little nighttime.
On this channel.
Little mountain. What's this one? You guys show me the picture.
Okay, welcome to another iPad painting tutorial. In today's tutorial I'm going to paint a spring woodland scene.
Oh, you're just, there it is. There's that one.
Okay, welcome to another iPad painting tutorial. In today's tutorial
And
I'm going to paint a
the
spring
only thing
field
is
with a really
this one. I don't actually have Procreate. So hopefully it will be similar to what I'm doing. Let's see. What do we want to try? Oh no. Quack, quack, quack. What picture do we want? I want to paint them all. Mountain with the lake and the forest. Is that this one? Should we try this one? It looks wicked complicated. Oh my god, my snifflies. Nerd. What are you doing, nerd? Hey, Gabe. So feel free to follow along if you want to. This might be what we do on our Thursday nights here. I think it could be fun. But, I'm sorry, y'all. I have to blow my fucking nose. I don't know. We opened the windows. That's why I'm dying right now. Alright. The beach ones might be easier. I mean, these are all supposed to be easy. Oh my god. We can start with this one. We'll see how easy it actually is. I started streaming way after I was sorry, Gabe. I usually start between 6 and 7, but I had to figure out how to get my iPad set up here. I appreciate the thought, though. Alright. Let's give this one a try-sies. If I rage quit in the middle, it's fine. It's no big thing. No big thing, chicken wang. Bring that back up to full size. Oh my god, Gabe, you and your Pokemon race. We're gonna finish our Team Rocket run this week, I think. I think that's what Faye and I decided. Then you can do all the racing and losing. You're in such a hurry to lose, Gabe. Alright. Let us see here. Oh my god.
I specialize in making really complex looking images easy to create. So just follow along with my step-by-step tutorial of this painting and you will amaze yourself.
Alright, I'm ready.
So as usual, I'm using the app Procreate on the iPad Pro, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't use the process and the techniques that I'm going to show you during this tutorial on a different tablet and even on a different app. But in terms of Procreate, I've opened their default A4 canvas, which is 297mm by 210mm at 300 dpi. I only use the default brushes within the tutorial, and as such I'm going to be using within airbrushing the soft brush, the medium brush. Within artistic I'm going to be using the Aurora brush and the Leatherwood brush, and within vintage I'm going to be using the Rad brush. And within organic brushes I may use the Rainforest brush too. I've also created a colour palette unique for this tutorial. Each of the colours has what we call a hexadecimal code linked to it. Each of these codes are down in the video description. You can take note of them, type them in here one at a time and press enter. The colour appears up here and you can tap it together yourself. Or next to the codes is a link that takes you to my Patreon, and you can download the whole colour file there for free. And obviously that is where you can support me and gain access to exclusive content, including extended versions of these tutorials going into the future. You'll also find links for my Facebook group and my Instagram and all the other relevant things. Before we get started, if you like this kind of tutorial, please give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and don't forget that bell notification to make sure you're notified of all the future videos too. And with all that said and done, we're going to go to our first colour on the top row, and we're just going to, from the little...
Alright, let's figure out what this color is here. Color. What does that say? 727 DCC. Okay, we'll do it this way. 2, 3, 3. Is the hue 44 and 80. We got blue. The right blue, I guess. Seems lighter though. 114, 125, 204. Okay. Let's continue.
Colour circle, drag and flood fill to fill the whole cap.
Fill. I got these and I gotta hydrate. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to fucking get any shit done. Hydrating. Okay. Fill. What does that mean? That's good to me.
Then we might as well stay on the same layer. I'm going to go to the second colour along. Go.
Now go back. I need to know what that color was.
And with all that said and done, we're going to go to our first colour on the top row, and we're just going to, from the little colour circle, drag and flood fill to fill the whole canvas. Then we might as well stay on the same layer. We're going to go to the second colour.
Okay. The second color is 2, 3, 7. Oh no, I'm in the wrong spot. Go away. 2, 3, 7. 34. 82. That looks the fucking same. I guess not. Is it? What's the fucking same? Use? Am I crazy? Is that not the fucking same? Did he not tap it yet?
Go along.
34, 82.
Go to our brushes.
Am I crazy? Slightly different? Like, it kind of looks different, but I can't even see it on the screen. Right? Like... What? No. Tell me these are the No, this is a fucking lie. Am I crazy? Am I just that bad at art? I don't understand.
Airbrushing, soft brush. We're going to put it up to about 20% size and 100% opacity. And just along the very top, I'm going to do a band of this colour, very simply.
I don't think... I don't think that's right. That's not the color that I have. I see that they are different. I don't know. I feel like, let me start over. Hold on. So there was this one. Why can't you fill this layer? Just okay. Do another layer. Don't trust myself. So now it's this one. He did a soft brush, right? Was it an airbrush? Do I have something like an airbrush? I don't even know what that would be under. Cheesy. Maybe like this one. Okay, right. Yeah, okay. See, there's... Mine did not look like that. Oh wait, I see it. I see it better on the screen I'm sharing than the fucking iPad. Do I need to bring my brightness up? This is like bonkers. Still barely see them. It's gotta be like some setting that I have. Okay, but it's there. It's there. I see it a little bit now. What we're doing here. Okay.
And then I'm going to go to the adjustments here at the top.
It definitely shows up better on my stream than what I'm actually seeing right now. So that's alright.
Top, Gaussian blur, and then I'm going to slide it across to blur it to about the 40%. I'm then going to create a new layer here.
Blur. I don't know if I have that. I don't even know where I would like find that. So I think we'll just move on and do a new layer.
By pressing the plus symbol, layer 2, so one layer 2. I'm going to switch brushes to the organic rainforest brush. Go back to my colours. I'm going to use
Rainforest brush.
Use the third.
Okay, I don't know if I have anything like that, but it looked like clouds or something, right? It kind of looked like that. Is that fair? Better mix. Gotta hop off for a bit. Hop back in later if you're still live. I appreciate you coming by. Take care of the things. It'll probably be a short stream tonight. It might only be like an hour or two, but we'll see. We'll see. If I don't see you, have a great night, Rex. Alright. Let's try that. What color do we got here? 237. 34. 82 again? Jeez Louise, why are all these colors so similar? They look way different.
Third color. Gonna have my brush.
It doesn't want to add that? Do you think that's not the same? Is it? Is it not?
Size to about the 40%. I'm then going to create a new layer here by pressing the plus symbol. Layer 2. So on layer 2, I'm going to switch brushes to the organic rainforest brush. Go back to my colours, and I'm going to use the third colour.
Oh no, it was 241, I see. Oh, that just like randomly knew what I fucking wanted. 38. 38 and 71. Okay.
Going to have my brush size at around 4% and the opacity at around 20%. And just in this upper region, say 2/3, 3/4 of the way up, I'm just going to do a band of this texture all the way across. Now I'm not just simply pressing on and letting go, I'm doing it in a series of taps. So I'm allowing really just a build up of this texture. I want gaps just as much as I want the actual brush adding to the mix as well. So just a few times across like this. Then I'm going to turn it down to the top end of 2%, and I'm just going to slightly stretch out some of the shapes, but they are going to be thinner, and I'm allowing the gaps between them to get a little less as well. So just a bunching up of these shapes and just a little bit more stretched out into kind of lines as well. Quite subtle. Then I'm going to put it up to a larger size, maybe about 8%, and I'm just going to start tapping in some shapes at the top. I'll even turn the opacity up to 30%.
I think I need a different brush. This one just looks not quite cloudy. I think that's the problem. We want some different clouds here. Probably could have not done it. A bunch of undos, but how about I thought I had a good cloud shape somewhere. I actually have a cloud brush. Yeah, those. Try that one, I guess. I totally know what I'm doing. That's too liney.
And like I say, just introduce some bigger shapes here at the top, but also remembering to leave some gaps too. Create a new layer. I like to do things on different layers, just in case we decide that we need more of the dark colour, but we've added other things on top, then it's just easier to go back through the layers, select the layer where we want to change that element, and just keep it as a separate bit of information. So on the top layer, layer 3, back to our colours, we're going to use the fourth colour. I'm going to turn.
Go back to what color is we just used. gonna take a second to do it. That way. The way he did it. Doesn't look as good though. But, you know, it's fine. It's not too bad. Right. Maybe? I don't know. Okay. Let's leave that for now. What's the other color he used?
To leave some gaps too. Create a new layer. I like to do things on different layers, just in case we decide that we need more of a dark colour, but we've added other things on top, then it's just easier to go back through the layers, select the layer where we want to change that element, and just keep it as a separate bit of information. So on the top layer, layer 3, back to our colours, we're going to use the fourth.
Okay, so this was 281, 34, and 70. Wow, Callie, you don't say. Like a purple.
Colour. I'm going to turn the brush size to about the 4% again, and I'm just going to begin tapping in some of this lighter colour.
Oh, is it thundering out?
30% opacity. It's a bit stronger than it was initially. And we're just tapping in some of this warmer hue over the top. Turn it back down to about 2% again.
Cool, okay.
To a certain point, we're going to line it up a little bit with some of the shapes that we've got that come a little bit lower down. Now, everything I'm doing here is quite subtle, so I'm hoping you can see it on camera clearly enough. It's deliberately subtle. It's only meant to be a slight element at this stage. It's not meant to be too pronounced, but we will increase that as we go along. So I'm just tapping it in, moving left to right too, quite loose. Okay. Again, we'll keep it on a separate layer. We may condense these as we go, but we're keeping them separate initially. So layer 4, go back to my colours, and we're going to use the 5th.
Okay. Next color is 339, 46, 93.
Colour along, so it's really quite a strong pink at this point. Have the brush size back up again to about the 4%. We'll keep it at the 30% strength because it should be quite strong. And we're just going to start building in some sections now where it's really picking up on light. The sun setting is going to be off canvas, so we're seeing the effects of it, but not actually the sun itself. I do lots of landscapes where we feature the actual sun in a sunset or a sunrise, but not many scenes where it's just off canvas, off scene. So I think it's quite nice to add something a little bit different to the mix. So we're just allowing some bigger shapes to build up here. Really just catching the light a little bit more distinctly in some of these shapes and keeping it quite loose still, but yeah, it's picking up a little bit more. I'm going to put it back down, maybe about 3%, it's not quite the 2, just a little bit larger. Still at the 30%, and I'm just bringing in, again, some slightly kind of broken shapes in this lower region a little bit. Not necessarily across the whole sky. I think an important part of sky features is that it's not too uniform. Maybe even reduce it down to 2%. You have to excuse me in these tutorials. If you hear some strange sounds in the background, it's possibly my dogs, who do tend to like to sit with me when I'm doing these tutorials. So any strange kind of weird breathing, it could be me, but it's more likely to be the dog. Yes, I'm going to blame it on them anyway. So yeah, we're just building up some of these shapes a little bit in places, but I'm going to go to the colour on the very end, and I'm just going to go back to layer 1, so it's underneath the dark colours that we've already added, and with a low 2% brush and about 20% opacity strength, I'm just going to lightly kind of edge some of these clouds, just with a little bit of a sense of a highlight, but not too much, just in places. Just adds a third colour into the mix, in 1 or 2 places. Now it's going to be only sort of creeping you know, around some of these shapes in places because we have done layers of other colours over the very top of them.
Okay, doesn't
so
art.
Work quite nicely.
Thanks.
Just a hint of them here and there.
Camera took it off. It was working fine earlier.
I need a bit more of a highlight, a bit more warmth on some of these pinks.
Come back on.
So I've added it to the colour palette. It will always have been there on your colour palette, but yeah, I've just added it onto mine. So on the top layer, with the brush at 2% size and 20% opacity, and again, just on these front edges, some of these clouds, just bringing out just a hint of this really vibrant nice colour. And some here as well. I think for this, I may go to the airbrushing.
I don't know. What the frickety frack? What the frickety frack? You know what? Whatever. We're gonna have a cat cam. Oh, hey, we gotta fix that cat cam, huh? We'll throw cat cam over there. He's got his back to y'all, but there's a cat cam. You can see my chair cam. There you go. You know, whatever. We are getting a thunderstorm too, so I might not be too much here.
Soft brush, put it to about 3% size, and again about 20% opacity. And I think I just want to do this slightly more in a controlled way, so I don't want to add more texture so much as just adding some highlights to some of the shapes that are already kind of emerging there. So if you see some shapes and you just want to add some accents of strong highlighted kind of bright colour, then that is going to work really nicely. Not too much of this. I can alternate between that and the pink again. So third colour from the right, again in a slightly more controlled way. I can just specify exactly where I want these shapes to go now. The other brush was good in getting you just the kind of foundation, the groundwork in, but then sometimes it's just better to go in and put it in by hand yourself. If you've got an empty, uninteresting looking area, you can just manually go in and kind of change it up a little bit. And back to the orange again. Just a couple more touches here and there, and we may come back to the sky, just fine tune that a little bit later on, but I'm going to leave it for there for now. I'm just going to go back to layer 1 and I'm going to go to this bright colour, which is second from the right on the middle row. And again, using this soft brush with an airbrushing, I'm going to put it to about 10% size and really low at about 5% opacity. And I just feel I want a leave even brighter colour in the background, just to contrast with some of these dark cloud shapes. I think
I was like right there. Now go back.
Bring them out and just reveal them a little bit more. Just a touch of it like that. We may go back to the sky later on, but we're going to plough forward with our tutorial anyway. So we'll go to the top layer, create another layer on top, layer 5. We're going to switch from the soft brush with an airbrushing to the medium brush. And we're also going to switch our colours. So we're going to go for the first colour on the middle row. We're going to put the brush size, I don't know, about 2%. And we'll put the other layer on top, layer 5. We're going to switch from the soft brush with an airbrushing to the medium brush. And we're also going to switch our colours. So we're going to go for the first colour.
First colour, is that what you said? Alright, let me try to do some, I don't know. I'm not gonna fuck with that too much. So first color, you said?
On the middle row. We're going to put the brush size.
Oh, and then you picked a medium, right? I have a medium. I don't know. Keep it up soft, I think.
I don't know, about 2%. And we'll put the opacity at 100%, but we can always change the opacity of the layer by tapping on the end, and we can use the slider to change the opacity of the whole layer. But first of all, I'm going to create something of a peak for some distant mountains, and then this is the fun bit where you just get to decide the shape of your kind of distant mountain range. So create a series of peaks and dips You decide what your mountain should look like. You don't need to copy mine exactly, I'm just demonstrating how you can construct something like this. You can be in control of your landscape, don't be limited exactly to what I'm showing you.
Did he not pick
you
a darker
take my process and apply it however you want. So we drag to fulfill and don't let go, and it can go either way. So it can be that way to the left.
I thought he picked the first color. Hold on, what color are we at?
You just get to the touch of it like that. We may go back to the sky later on, but we're going to plough forward without you by tapping on the end, and we can use the slider to change the opacity of the whole layer. But first of all, I'm going by tapping on the end, and we're going to put the brush side our colours. So we're going to go for the first colour.
Don't tell me that was the first color. You're a freaking liar. Alright, it looks like he's kind of in the middle here. Right. Trying to take a guess here. Because I can't see what the sliders are. Does that feel accurate? Yeah, I think so.
On the middle row, we're going to put the brush size, I don't know, about 2%,
Okay.
and we'll put the opacity at 100%, but we can always change the opacity of the layer by tapping on the end, and we can use the slider to change the opacity of the whole layer. But first of all, I'm going to create something of a peak for some distant mountains, and then this is the fun bit where you just get to decide the shape of your kind of distant mountain range. So create a series of peaks and dips. You decide what your mountain should look like. You don't need to copy mine exactly, I'm just demonstrating how you can construct something like this. You can be in control of your landscape, don't be limited exactly to what I'm showing you. You can take my process and apply it however you want. So we drag to fulfill and don't let go, and it can go either way. So it can be that way to the left and it has a massive gap, or you can go too far and it flood fills the whole thing. So just dial it back a little bit until it reveals the sky again, and that will do. And then you can...
So what did he do? Like a dump? A dump!
Go in and any tiny little anomalies, any gaps that it hasn't quite filled, you can just do that more manually. Just fine tune that mounted edge so that you're pleased with it. You can always go in with the eraser, so long press on the eraser, tap on it again, and you can see it's going to now use the same medium brush with an airbrushing for removing shapes too. So I would recommend doing the same size, 2% size and 100% opacity to remove it, so you get a nice clean removal. Maybe you can just bring down some of those dips, troughs between the peaks just a little bit further in places. I mean, much of these are likely to be covered by trees anyway, in the kind of middle distance, but yeah, we may as well do a full range of them all the way across anyway, something like this. Then, on the layer itself, we can tap on it, and we can put on alpha lock. Now that means that anything we do on it in the future is going to stop at a boundary at the edge of the mountains that we've created. So it means you can be really loose with the texture and not worry too much about affecting any of the other areas of the canvas, which is brilliant. So that means when we go back to our colours, we can use this second colour now. Go back to our brushes, we can use the vintage. I mean, much of these are likely to be covered by trees anyway, in the kind of middle distance, but yeah, we may as well do a full range of them all the way across anyway, something like this. Then, on the layer itself, we can tap on it, and we can put on alpha lock. Now that means that anything we do on it in the future is going to stop at a boundary at the edge of the mountains that we've created. So it means you can be really loose with the texture and not worry too much about affecting any of the other areas of the canvas, which is brilliant. So that means when we go back to our colours, we can use this second.
Not showing the things anymore. Alright, so it looks like he's kind of over here-ish. More into the purple. Kind of like a purple gray. Get a purple gray in there. Alright, try that color.
Now, go back to our brushes. We can use the vintage rad brush, And with the rad brush, we're going to have it at around 30% size and about 30% opacity as well.
That.
And we can go over these mountain areas with.
Oh, it's like the cross-hatchy. Okay, I see. So what would be good for that? Maybe the splatter? Nope, too big of the splatter. 50. That might be okay.
It's free rein and it's not going to impact anything else. So we can just cut across here, start adding certainly along the top, but just tap it so it goes lower down as well. This is just an initial kind of foundation texture that we can build upon. So it's not going to necessarily have that much of an impact on the final image. So I'm going to run quite a lot over the top, but then as it comes down, I'll just allow it to break and sort of tap it in more lightly. And it's on a low opacity anyway, so it's really not filling in too much. And then going to put the opacity up to about 60%. Be more precise now at around 10%, and just really start laying in some kind of slightly denser areas of this colours in places perhaps nearer the top. We still want some of that dark colour nearer the top, so you don't need to get rid of all of it, but just a little bit more concentration of these colours, this colour particularly nearer the top. And you can just do a few broken points lower down as well, just so you're getting some even smaller sections in this sort of lower region. So we're going to create a new layer, layer 6, and this time we're going to tap on it again and we're going to put on the clipping mask. Now a little arrow will appear.
Clipping mask. I don't know if I like quite a nice effect, I feel like. Alright, so let's do the new layer, and then he did create clipping. Mask, was that, I don't, empty mask.
And it's basically going to only allow you to add things to anything that was on the layer below it. Okay. So just to demonstrate that again, I can do free drawing on top of it, but it won't go into the distant sky area. So again, we don't have to worry about being neat along that top edge. So on this layer, I'm going to go back to our colours. I'm going to go to the third colour along.
I can see what that third colour was.
Particularly nearer the top, and you can just do a few broken points lower down as well, just so you're getting some even smaller sections in this sort of lower region. So we're going to create a new layer, layer 6, and this time we're going to tap on it again and we're going to put on the clipping mask. Now a little arrow will appear and it's basically going to only allow you to add things to anything that was on the layer below it. So just to demonstrate that again, I can do free drawing on top of it, but it won't go into the distant sky area. So again, we don't have to worry about being neat along that top edge. So on this layer, I'm going to go back to our colours. I'm going to go to the third.
Alright, so now we got more grey. More grey blue. Looks close enough.
Colour along. And with the rad brush again, within vintage, we're going to have it at around 10% size and about 40% opacity. And I'm just going to start adding some of this texture. Now I'm doing brush marks and bringing them downward. So we're thinking about the direction of the mountain, I suppose. And textures will generally drag down. I think it helps to use your brush marks in a similar way that you would get features like snow and rockfall. So just as they would start to move down the mountain, then we should start thinking about our textures in that sense too. Now you can concentrate it in some areas, leave some areas dark. You don't want to eliminate all of the darkness either, but yeah, just start dragging down some of these shapes and areas, that kind of thing. Now it's still quite loose at this stage, so you don't need to worry too much. We're going to add even more layers on top, but we're just adding more complexity, more layers of interest. Okay, that'll do enough for that one. I'm going to stay on the same layer. I'm going to go to the fourth colour along this time, and it's quite a considerably warmer colour, but I'm going to put the brush size down to about 5%, stay at about the 40% opacity, and I'm going to use this colour predominantly on the right side. So anything that I imagine is facing the sun, which is coming at from this perspective. So I'm just going to really prioritise everything on this side, warmer colour, but I'm going to put the brush size down. Still quite loose at this stage, so you don't need to worry too much. We're going to add even more layers on top, but we're just adding
so
more
much better than mine.
complexity, more layers of interest. Okay, that'll do enough for that one. I'm going to stay on the same layer. I'm going to go to the fourth colour along.
Okay. I don't know. Do a few more, I guess. Oh, a big dunda. That through my headphones. Honestly, it looks better on my stream than it does on my iPad, but it's a common artist problem. Alright, so then we want color. A little bit on the pink. God damn that thunder. Maybe more in the pink here. Right. Let's see. Like gray.
This time, and it's quite a considerably warmer colour. I'm going to put the brush size down to about 5%, stay at about the 40% opacity, and I'm going to use this colour predominantly on the right side. So anything that I imagine is facing the sun, which is coming at from this perspective. So I'm just going to really prioritise everything on this side of the mountain. Let's turn the opacity up a little bit to about 60%. We don't want to bring this all the way down. Again, we can allow that to break up. But anything where there's something that would be having an angle that's more coming facing anything from that direction, then we'll use this warm colour. And then when it gets to a point where it's sort of snapping and turning the other way, you might just have a few pieces, sort of fragment it. It's still going to catch the light in some areas, but not as many. Certainly near the top, it's higher up and facing that way, then it's definitely going to catch more of that warmth. And again, using that direction with the brush marks, maybe over here, this is a big section, so maybe it's casting a little bit more of a shadow, so you're not going to get much of that warmth down into this area, perhaps. Okay, so I think I'm going to create another layer, and again I'm going to tap on it. Clipping mask does the same thing as before. It won't allow you to colour into other areas, which is great. Go on my colour.
Alright, let me do a couple more of these. Little sunny strokes here. Pretty. Make it kind of more blendy, natural. Some thunder out there, baby. Alright, new layer, new color. We've got great, nice kind of a light pink, pinky gray, I'd say. Kind of like that.
This even lighter colour, a fifth colour along, and the same settings, about 5% size and 60% opacity, and we're just going to do the same thing again. So we're just going to build in even brighter colours. Perhaps we could turn this down a little bit more, so we're on 5, so maybe put it more like 3, zoom in a little bit. I don't usually zoom in too much for these tutorials. I do help you get to the overall effect, but we don't tend to zoom into the nth degree. Then obviously I encourage that if you're really enjoying adding those details, but it's not something we have the scope for aiming at within the space of one of these limited tutorials. But I'm just using some of these smaller shapes to create some fragmented, brighter colours within some of the other colours that we've already got. Thinking about surfaces and angles that will just catch the light effectively. I'm still kind of tapping it in. Now all of this texture is in essence a foundation texture, because we're going to be adding snow to this. These are not going to be dry mountains in that sense. They're going to be covered in snow. So this is literally just the underneath texture that we're going to apply all of those lovely white and off-white colours to. But it definitely helps to have something that feels tangible to add the snow to, obviously. Maybe just a few here that are just something that's just catching the light a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to create another layer for the snow. Again, tap on it, clipping mask, go to our colours. We've not used this colour here.
Purple.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I will. Sometimes I create the colours with the intention of using it, and it doesn't mean they're always going to be used, but we'll see. So I'm going to go to this colour.
Okay. So we did the blue. Right up here, huh? Like a nice snowy blue is what we're doing here. Okay.
Which is second from the right, which is very bright compared to everything else, but it has a blue tinge to it. And we're probably going to use the same brush. I think it works quite well for these textures. Turn on clipping mask again. I just undid that by accident. So I'm going to have it at 3% size and even higher at about 80% opacity. And I'm just going to think now, where do I want the snow to be? And it's going to be a destructive process. In a sense, you're going to cover up much of what you've already created, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I'll zoom in a little bit, and then we can just add some of this fragmented snow here as well. Now, it doesn't need to be everywhere. You can have big gaps where the snow perhaps just doesn't extend to. And then in other areas, you can have really nice clusters of snow. You decide. You can have big sections here, for example, where it really accumulates and gathers. And then as it comes further down, it just kind of breaks up into small pieces and trails off. Again, you can scribble this in. You don't need to be doing it entirely in a pointillistic way like I seem to be doing with a lot of it. You can really go for it and just scribble. Fills in larger blocks quite quickly. You just want to keep it quite loose. Maybe as it comes further down, it kind of collects in a nice big shape in a big area. But it doesn't mean it needs to extend very far beyond that. You can also obviously go in with the eraser, so I can long press on that eraser, choose an appropriate size for it and strength, so I'll keep it quite high again. on the opacity, but low, so 4% size and 80% with the eraser, maybe a bit less, maybe about 60%. And you can just subtly remove, add some extra layers of texture within that block, and then back to the brush again. And I would suggest to a point anything that's facing the sun a little more is going to perhaps have a little less snow. Obviously the sun moves through the day, but if you get many hours of sunlight on one area more than another on a mountainside, you're typically going to get less accumulation of that snow. So maybe just bear that in mind. And as these are sort of fictitious mountains that we're creating, then there's no absolute rule for these, but generally speaking, you will notice that will be aspects to a mountain perhaps where there's just little nooks and crevices to the structure where there's just an area which just seems to stay in shadow a lot more, and that's where the snow clings onto the most and for the longest. So I'm just moving across the top, adding some snow, adding gaps.
We'll say it looks way better on stream here,
but it's really starting to
looking at.
Now, just to demonstrate how I'm going to do the
clearly
other
doesn't look like his, but
on the very end, and obviously we have the light coming over on this side. So anything now that is on this side, but then turns to face the light, is going to be brighter, and it's just going to zing and pop a little bit more brightly, which is great. And it's a really nice but subtle contrast between the colours there and the colours there, and it really just brings it to life. Makes it look more realistic without a great deal of effort really. We're just kind of tapping in some shapes. We're not copying these shapes, these are just invented, so you don't need to exactly copy mine either. So I'm thinking about the warm parts where the sun is hitting most, and I'm adding some of these bright whites. There might be large areas where it really picks up a lot of this white, and that's great. Again, you can just scribble in large sections, allow it to grow up quite haphazardly. It's not like real paint. You can go in with the eraser and amend and change and correct anything you're not happy with anyway. So don't restrict yourself, just really go for it initially. And anything that looks too much, isn't working, you just go back in and remove. Brilliant. Okay. I'm going to alternate between those two colours, go back to that, and then I'm going to add just bits of this cooler to maybe just further suggest that there's another side to this too. Creates that sense that there's a shape that juts out, so one side of it faces the light, and then you go over the other side and it is more in shadow. And you can really play around with that effect and idea. I'm just going to speed through some of this. Unless I can think of anything crucial that I need to explain, I'm just going to go across, and we'll pick back up when we start adding some trees. I'm going to leave some of these sections because I definitely plan to obscure it with more foreground trees. So the right side and the left side, I'm not going to do the snow there, just concentrating in this section. A really cool thing you can do with your layer, I'm going to slide it, duplicate it, and it just ramps up everything I've done there. So if I untick it, you can see the difference between adding it and not adding it. It just really makes it pop really nicely. So I'm going to work on the top version of it and continue building up this effect.
Way more into this than I am. Snow.
I do think it's important just to add some slight breakaway points. So fragment it, certainly around the bottom edge. You're not just going to get suddenly stopping, it's going to have just little bits that, don't quite join up to the larger shapes near the bottom section. Okay, I'm going to merge together layers 6 to 8. That's all of the snow, or the top sections of the texture anyway, including the snow. And I'm also going to go to the adjustments, Gaussian blur, and I'm just going to take the edge off the sharpness. I'm going to put it blurred to about the 2%. Now these are going to be more distance, it just makes them settle into the image a little bit better, it doesn't make them jump forward, which is just about right. At this point, before we move forward and add some tree elements, I'm going to go to the wrench symbol, plus copy canvas, and then you can see it is still highlighted here for paste. Now you can see the dashed line around the layer that we've just created, and you can see it here represented, top layer with a thumbnail, and you can see a little version of the whole canvas that we've just done. And then I'm going to go to the transform tool, flip it vertically, and it's flipped upside down, but not everything, it's just the top layer. If I remove that top layer, everything that we've already done is still there. And that's important because we're going to go to the selection tool, rectangle, and I'm just going to drag a rectangle over what we've just created on that copied layer. So it's selected this area, but really what I want to do is delete the top bit of it. So I'm going to invert that, and the quickest way of deleting what we've got left is go to the layers, tap on it, and clear.
Let me go back.
And I'm also going to go to the adjustments, Gaussian blur, and I'm just going to take the edge off the sharpness.
Couple layers
I'm going to put it blurred to about the 2%. Now these are going to be more distance, it just makes them settle into the image a little bit better, it doesn't make them jump forward, which is just about right. At this point, before we move forward and add some tree elements, I'm going to go to the wrench symbol, plus copy canvas, and then you can see it is still highlighted here for paste. Now we
copied the canvas, can I do that? If I can copy canvas from here. Just copy. Copy canvas. WTF. Sorry, Gigi. Made him jump. Do I have some kind of copy canvas? That's not what I want though. Can I do it like that? Okay. You can't just copy my selection here. I don't know. I don't think I can do this. Let's see what else he does.
You can see the dashed line around the layer that we've just created, and you can see it here represented, top layer with a thumbnail, and you can see a little version of the whole canvas that we've just done. And then I'm going to go to the transform tool, flip it vertically, and it's flipped it upside down, but not everything, it's just the top layer. If I remove that top layer, everything that we've already done is still there. And that's important because we're going to go to the selection tool, rectangle, and I'm just going to drag a rectangle over what we've just created on that copied layer. So it's selected this area, but really what I want to do is delete the top bit of it. So I'm going to invert that, and the quickest way of deleting what we've got left is go to the layers, tap on it, and clear. And it's got rid of all the bits that we don't really need. I'm going to go to the transform and just...
Yeah, I know what you're doing. I don't think I'm doing that right. I know I need the whole canvas. Does it work like that? I group it. That might work. Then I can properly copy, right? Paste. And then pick it. No. All right. That layer. I don't know if this is going to be the way to do it. It's still only doing that. Oh. Why am I doing that? Okay, it's still only copying. Well, I don't know. I'm a little stuck. I'm perplexed by. Can you just copy it all? Copy. I don't really want to copy the glue. No. Okay, I don't know. I'm I'm stuck. I might have to come back and figure this out. I have no idea. I didn't think that would be this hard. Should just be like copying, pasting. But it doesn't want to do that. That's not really the right way though. I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to do this. That took the top. Damn it. How? I have just too much mountain, I guess. Kinda seems like maybe you should have told me that. Excellent. No. Okay. Even though still shoot. I know this isn't the right way to do it, but we're gonna have to kind of fudge it. Okay, we're good, we're good. We are good. What up, nerd? I guess. Okay, alright, alright. I think I did something. It's not perfect, but we figured it out.
Just move that down a little bit further. I think it'd make more sense being about there. And then with that layer, we're going to go to the adjustments, motion blur, and we're going to go straight down as much as we can to about the 30%.
Alright, now I have to figure out how this motion blur shit works. Cause I don't have the same things. Anything here? No. I think that's where it would be. I could smudge it. Would a smudge help? No. Yeah. A little bit. Let me try to smudge. And it has the same effect, right? That could work. Okay, that's not too bad. I don't hate it.
Then
we're gonna a little more fine tuning down here. Okay, I don't hate it.
I'm going to create a new layer, layer 8, and we're going to go to the rainforest brush within organic brushes. I'm going to put it at around 6% size and 100% opacity, and we're going to use the first colour.
Alright, now we're doing some green. Doing some green. And even way down here in some dark green land. Let's try that.
On the bottom row. And just at the bottom of where we've got the texture of the mountain starting to fragment and just disappear, we're just doing shape all the way across. Now it doesn't matter if it obscures some of the things we've already done, we can erase and remove that later, doesn't matter. Then gonna select the second, in fact we'll go for the third colour first, with the same.
Oh, I'm doing a blur. I had the wrong, okay. Let's make this bigger. We can probably make that. I don't know if I'm sold on that. Oh, it doesn't look too bad, I guess.
Brush set down to 2% size and less at about 70% opacity. Zoom back in a little bit. And just within these textures now, we're just going to approach it a little bit. Doesn't matter. Then going to select the second. In fact, we'll go for the third colour.
Okay. I'm gonna change that brush though, actually. And maybe I'll do the same one that the clouds were. That's kind of what we did before. Darker, but darken it a little bit. Okay, and then he went to do a lighter color after anyway. Some more in the green here.
First, with the same brush, set down to 2% size and less at about 70% opacity. Zoom back in a little bit. And just within these textures now, we're just going to approach it a little bit more pointillistically. So just tapping in some shapes, fragmenting it, perhaps even reduce it more. So really the lowest part of 2% just before it clicks onto 1. And we can just start adding some of these shapes. Okay, for it obscuring the very top, kind of redefining that top edge with this lighter colour too. Perhaps we don't want too much of that real dark colour leading at the top. Perhaps just want this slightly more highlighted colour with the first colour. But we want some depth, we want the darkness revealed sort of internally within these trees. So So I'm tapping all this texture in. So it's a combination between the brush itself and then the texture that I'm adding. I'm going to allow it to just disappear about a little bit lower down. Don't need to do it quite as condensed near the bottom area. Let me just go back in and add some more of these points here. And again, this is going to be obscured by more trees. So I'm going to go to the middle colour of those three, so the second colour on the bottom row.
Here. And we got more of a yellow here. Okay.
And I'm just going to, with the same brush setting, start to add some of this colour to the mix too. Just to further kind of break it up, add more points of this texture. Perhaps it's just selecting, or rather picking up on this colour a little bit more consistently on the very top and a little less lower down. And then just going to go to this green colour, which is the 6th colour along.
Switching it up again. Up here then. In the yellow orange.
I'm going to turn the rainforest brush down to top end of 1%, 80% opacity. Just zoom in a little bit, and just really this center area is the only bit that I'm really going to have visible anyway. I've done it all the way across, just in case it slightly peeks through areas, but probably won't. So really I'm just going to focus my energy in this center area. Just do a few light touches just to break up this region into an even finer texture. Just a few points in and around this area, especially just near the top, but they can extend a little bit further down too. And if you want to just continue that all the way across, then go for it. Back to the slightly muddier version of the same thing. And just a bit more of that as we come further down, just so we don't have any areas without any of that texture at all. And that's probably enough. It's going to be pretty subdued anyway. Maybe just a hint of the 3rd green. Perhaps I'll just turn that up 2% size and just maybe turn the opacity down as well to about 30%. And just go over that a little bit and soften some of that in, just so it kind of binds together a little bit better with a nice green. And like I say, it's really a background element anyway, so don't fixate too much on that, because we're going to create a layer on top, layer 9, go back to our colours, and I'm going to use the 4th colour along. It's not quite jet black, but it's...
Okay.
pretty dark. We're going to go back to our brushes, and instead of using the rainforest brush, I'm going to go to the artistic brushes and the Aurora brush. But I'm going to reset it just so that I can show you how I think you should set it. So by tapping on the brush, and we go to the color dynamics. Now currently it's set to jitter on the hue at 16%, which if I show you on here, you get quite a lot of variance between the colours, and you'll see that more on an obviously bright colour. So I'll change that to a brighter green, and you can see there it's got quite a lot of variance between an orange, a green, and a kind of somewhere between the two, which is quite nice, but it's really quite pronounced and a bit too exaggerated. So I'm going to go on the brush again. I'm going to turn that, so it's within colour dynamics, I'm going to turn it down to 5% only, which if we test it out with that green now, it still has it, but it's a much more subtle version. But initially we are going to use this dark colour with this brush turned down to
we'll just figure out
about 3%
version
size,
of that on our own.
And we may also put it up to 100% opacity. We're going to have a series of trees here, smaller to begin with, and then larger as we get slightly closer and off towards the sides too, which is why I said don't worry about what goes into this area and don't worry too much about this. We need it there just in case it pokes through some of the gaps, but we don't need very much of it. So I'm just going to really be quite bold and just start in the centre here, draw where I want the tree trunk to be. Doesn't matter if it extends further than we end up doing it. And then I'm just literally going to squiggle left to right to fill in the remainder of some of that tree. And I'm going to do a series of these, some shorter, some again quite tall. And it is just a scribble backwards and forwards. So you start with a point and it gets slightly broader and wider as you come further down. And this is just to get the initial shape in, or series of shapes. And we can go in and refine these with other colours anyway. We just want to get these blocked in to begin with. You can have some gaps. Some of the trees could be just a bit thicker, some of them can be a bit taller. Some of them you can draw a tree trunk, and you might just want to articulate some of the branches. I'll zoom in a little bit. So you might want to just draw the branches, and when you zoom into that texture, you can see it's quite a mottled texture. And when it's super close up, yeah, maybe it doesn't quite look right, but when you zoomed out at this level, then certainly adds the right kind of effect. And for some of these, perhaps you can just suggest that the branches point upwards, and you'll notice that when you do leave some gaps, some of them you don't need to leave gaps at all, some of them it is useful to leave those gaps. So I'm really not, taking too long to get bogged down in the details of these, especially at this point. I can do a few more that probably will be covered anyway, so I'm not going to spend a long time in any of these, frankly, but certainly not as we come
just
more this
scribbling,
way.
And they look so
I'll just
good.
do a couple more just in case.
Tree?
They are ever so slightly visible, though they
Blob?
probably won't be. And another one there. Again, on the same basis, it probably won't be seen, but we'll add it anyway. But then going to go along our colours. We have another colour here, the fifth colour. It's going to be subtly visible. We've got it on 100%, but we need to turn it down from that to about 80. We'll keep it small, but even smaller, perhaps around the lowest part of 2%, because we just want to get in there now, and we just want to articulate just some extra texture in there, really. So we definitely want to bring some bits of it forward, so the suggestion of some more texture, and sort of moving like a V shape on either side, perhaps. But it is quite rough, really, at this point. I'll zoom in a little bit more. I'll zoom in a long way, and you can perhaps just see it a little bit better there. What we will do with this layer is probably blur it in a bit anyway, so we'll go to the Gaussian blur and blur it in a touch, so it's not quite as noticeable at 2%, but we're not there yet. So go back. Again, we're just creating a slight upward
I suck at
movement,
trees, huh?
also introducing
I fucking
leaving
suck
rather
at
some
trees.
nice big gaps.
Your new
So we're creating a
emote looks
variety
like
of
a
texture.
devil.
This isn't really
What
something
is
you
it?
need to spend a long time doing. This is just something that will
Oh
fill
my
in
god, my
itself
trees
quite
suck.
quickly. Now, as we come round towards the front of these kinds of trees, the ones that kind of come out towards us would be seen to be going more kind of an upright direction. So you can introduce a few shapes that really just cut in front and seem to go more kind of an upright. So the outer ones, for example, of a tree
That side is
will be
scary,
more
Daddy.
like this, and as we curve around to the front, the branches might be just a bit more like this. And you're going to get a series of branches,
Go potty, buddy.
kind of, in essence, a bit like that. But if
you
you make
give
it
me a
too
second,
obvious,
I
it's not
can
going
let
to
him
look
out.
very good. But a hint of it, I think,
He's
as long as you kind of
scared,
understand that that might be
stuttering.
a thing, I think nudging it in that direction is quite a good thing. I'm going to, with this layer, just put on the alpha lock again. I'm going to go back to the airbrushing soft brush, and I'm going to go in with a third colour on the bottom row, brush down to 2% size and really low on the opacity, about 5%, and I can just use that with no real concern about being neat, I can just use that to lighten up some of this a little bit, just especially near the top region. Perhaps it's just going to be showing a little bit more of that colour in the top. Just taking some of the darkness in the upper regions. They're kind of sticking up, they're going to catch the light more and reveal more of the lighter aspects. Perhaps we'll try that with the second colour on the bottom row too. Maybe turn the brush down 1% and put it up to 10% opacity. Again, I can just feed in this colour on the edges, maybe even more actually. Let's go for it, 30% opacity. I can just tap this in, break up some of that shape a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to break out of the shapes that we've already created, it's just bringing out lighter hints of the bits that are already there. I'm thinking of adding another layer in fact, so I'm going to go back to layer 8, create another layer, so now it's sandwiched between those two. Going with this colour, which is the 5th colour along, zoom in a little bit, go back to the artistic Aurora brush, and maybe just add 1 or 2 trees back here. I do need to turn the opacity up again now.
Just not do trees. These look awful. Like, I'm not saying my picture is great.
Maybe I can just add
this looks
1 or 2
awful. Oh, I have to turn off my gamer outreach thing, huh?
Breaking
hey, Raven.
Area. It's just really about creating texture. I don't want them to be too overwhelming and dominate too much. I'm going to create a new layer on top. And with this, we're definitely
he's so far ahead of me right now, too. I really cannot fucking do these trees. So we are going to use the Aurora brush still. We'll keep it at 2% size. I don't like trees.
We are going to articulate the individual branches way more than we already have.
They don't look good.
Let's get the tree trunk first. It's not quite how a tree trunk probably would look, but it doesn't matter. We're probably not going to see it anyway once we get the branches in. We'll just get a sense of them in there first. And some of them can be really nicely closely together. So then maybe we'll get some more in here. Okay, and then we're going to do some branches that just go either side. Maybe thicken up, press on a bit more, thicken up the tree trunk.
I could do those trees.
Go over it a few times.
Trees. I can't fucking
and we're going to have some branches that just kick left and right, like this. I mean, in the centre area, we can really have it packed in there, so you could really scribble in and block out some of the lighting areas. But as a general rule, I do want to preserve some gaps. I need to be careful not to flatten it out too much. I do want them sticking up still. Let's just go back in and make sure they are sticking up. Easy to change the angle. So I want them, generally speaking, like a V shape. For the majority of the way down on the majority of these trees. A little bit of variation is fine, but I'm going to try and preserve that general angle for the branches. And as they get further down, they can get just a bit weightier, denser. You can just, like I say, almost like do one of those shapes in the centre. So you're scribbling, blocking in that centre area. But on the outsides, you want to keep those kind of branches and that V shape more noticeable, I think. And when we get down to the bottom area, it doesn't really matter. We're going to have lots more things growing here, so you can really, at that point, just scribble it in. And we're going to repeat that process. I suppose in a sense you could use a selection freehand and just draw around this individual tree. We've got another tree trunk just next to it, but carefully draw around it. We could 3 fingers down,
I don't know.
copy,
a little bit better, I guess.
3 fingers down again, paste it. And you've got another one that you could move perhaps to another area. You could always select freeform and the transform, and you could just change the scale of it somewhat and put it over here. I don't think anyone would particularly notice, and it helps a little bit. Line it up with a different tree you've already done. Now I don't suggest you do that for all of the remaining trees, but you know, gives you a little bit of a shortcut. So let's take that top layer by tapping on it and merge it down, so now it's all on one layer again. I'm going to do some of the other trees. Same technique, maybe thicken up the tree trunk this time again, and maybe it could extend up even higher. You don't have to do a lot of branches at the very top, just because it's got a bit sticking up doesn't mean it needs to be densely populated with little branches.
I like that brush.
And once it gets down to this lower bit, like I say, you don't need to worry too much. Let's just scribble that in. We're going to add a lot of lighter colours over the top anyway. And another one.
That might have been better.
Like I say, individually, I think that, you know, if you had one tree and you were to really zoom in and examine it, you think, well, it doesn't look that convincing. But actually, oftentimes it's the multiplication of details and the effect overall, I think, can really work. Even though individually you're not having to really do much that's very painstaking, I think that the individual tree doesn't need to be necessarily brilliant for the effect to come across. So I've got a selection of 3 there, so now I can use the selection, freehand, draw around it again, save ourselves a little time, 3 fingers down, copy, 3 fingers down, paste, and let's move this, again somewhere different. Let's reduce the size, line it up with something else we've done, make it fit if we can, freeform it, because if it's uniform it keeps the proportions the same, but we could put it on freeform and just move it around to our heart's content. I will add another one next to it so it doesn't obviously become a duplicate. Another way of doing that would be to use the eraser, just, you know, set it to something sensible like the airbrushing soft brush, small size, you can control it, high opacity, and then you can just modify. It was actually in an earlier layer, wasn't it? So we'd have to go back. There we go. And then on the top layer, yep, and you can just reduce this down, configure it so that it makes more sense, and so it doesn't look too obviously like a duplicate, like I was saying. You can just chip away at it to make it work. Tap on the layer, merge down.
Yeah,
Again,
you're doing a lot of copy and pasting that I don't think I'll be able to figure out.
Brush tool. Maybe on this one I'll have it nice and dense, even at the very top. Like I say, it's important to change up the quality and the character of each tree, have it be an individual. You can use the duplication, but you don't want every single tree looking the same. It will look boring and unrealistic. So we're not going to see much of the mountains in the background here. Maybe just get a hint of the whites just peeking through in places, but really not a lot. I'm just, in fact, going to blot in everything lower down to about this point, in fact. So I'm just going to maybe just start putting in exactly what we want. Just be careful not to go over too much of those. But I already can set the base kind of ground colour, this dark. So I'm just going to fill in these, and then we'll catch up for the next step.
Not any better, but it doesn't look terrible. Yeah, they're not as good as his. I'm just going to switch back
momentarily to the airbrush and soft brush. Put the brush size up to about 3% and the opacity up to, I don't know, somewhere around 70%. And just soften this bottom area in a little bit.
Alright, let me catch up a little and then we'll get to softening the bottom. Is your bottom soft? I'm not gonna do the whole copy paste thing he did. I think I can scribble in some decent. The only thing is they don't look as nice and depthy. Color here. More green. the best tree ever in the world, not by a long shot. But, I mean, do a little blending and I think it wouldn't be too bad. You know? These ones don't look as good. Right in a bit. Should have done the dark first. This way. It's fine. Come back over. Light, blend it all up. Maybe. Is this a Christmas song playing? Alright. Smudging the bottom somehow.
So we will go over it with a brighter green. I just want to get rid of that bottom edge anyway. And I am going to create a new layer, layer 12, back to the artistic Aurora brush, and we're going to use probably the 5th colour along again, down to the lowest part of 2%, and let's see, yeah, maybe the higher up actually, just about the midway in the 2%, looks about right, and about 80% opacity. And I'm going to zoom in just a touch, and we just want to be a little bit more considered with some of these shapes. We don't want to necessarily overdo this now. So just like some of the shapes I was showing you before, where you've got this at either side, which we've already kind of articulated, already clearly shown, and we're going to have some more angles a bit like the middle two now. Possibly some like that, right in the middle, but not so much. We're just going to really concentrate on adding like those middle two ones that are a bit less this angle, more like that, but not too many of them. It would be very easy now at this point just to get a bit carried away and just overdo it. So we can create some extra noise. It doesn't all have to be consistently that. We're just adding more of a suggestion that those kind of angles could take place. And then as we come lower down, we're going to switch from that colour to something a bit more vibrant. So maybe we'll go for the 7th colour along, 4th in from the right. And then in some of these areas, we can just, perhaps with a lower opacity, because it is quite vibrant compared to all the rest. I have to put that down more to about the 30, and even put it up to, I don't know, 3% size. And then we're going to have that colour changing to a different green and kind of spreading out as well. More gaps. Could even bring it up a little bit higher in places too. And it's just bringing in subtlety of textures. We're going to do a couple of really vibrant, more foreground, really catching the light. But initially we're just creating up layers really at this point still. So I'll go again to the 5th colour, back up to the, what do we have it at, about the 80% I think it was, and just start adding more things in here. Maybe even the tops of different trees as well, some more trunks, more spikes.
I don't know.
Just a little bit more of the texture and detail in some of those distant ones. Not too much, it's okay if they're a little bit more silhouetted than anything. That works. Move over to these. Again, maybe turn it back down to the lowest part of 2%. Back to the 4th colour from the right.
He's really good.
And yeah, we need to turn that back down again to the 30%.
Particular.
And just start bringing in perhaps some of these more vibrant greens here as well. 3% size again near the bottom. It's definitely about layering of textures. Just take a little time.
I'm not good at that yet,
get
clearly.
a more convincing effect then, I think. Still not, still not hugely time consuming. It's just you need to spend a little bit of time. Just keep it kind of quite random like that. I'm going to create another layer, layer 13, and I'm going to go for the 3rd colour along, probably just down into the top end of 2%, keep it at a 30% opacity, and we're just going to use this now to perhaps just bring in the suggestion of some smaller trees that we're going to notice the textures of, just more dramatically, less silhouetted. We're just going to notice the highlights jumping forward on these. So I'm just moving left to right, adding a series of almost like dashes. I'm not worrying too much about branch articulation, just texture really. You could even turn that up a little bit. So maybe about 40, no, let's go for it, 50%. It's quite strong, but you've got obviously the ability to use pencil pressure just to dial it back a little bit if you need to. And yeah, let's add some more here. And another one here.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do as many trees as he's doing. This is getting to be a little bit much.
And a few more over
Beyond my capability. Thank you, Faye. I tried. I'm not good at trees. This was looking decent until I started the trees.
Maybe turn that back down again to the 30%. You can even just pick up some of the lower branches, give them a bit of highlight in places that are in areas too. I'm going to change to the 3rd colour along.
Looks good, right? Thank you. I do feel like it looks better on stream than on my actual iPad, but
forwards really. I'm just going to give some
that's alright.
things. Not spending a great deal of time, particularly getting the details of these. It's just building up an effect. Maybe go for the 2nd colour.
Yeah, these trees aren't great, but it's fine. Hey Drake!
Now I haven't added this colour initially, but I'm just adding it now. I've got a nice orange, which if we go back to the airbrushing soft brush, I'm going to put it down to just the 1% size and about 20% opacity. And
what y'all doing?
Just careful, just subtle, we can introduce the suggestion that yeah, we've got a little tree trunk that's perhaps just peeking through in areas, but we don't want too much of that. Just hints of it I think can go a long way. We'd see it maybe just in the bottom area there. I'm just going to take layers 11 to 13.
A ton of fucking trees. Together.
Easier said than done sometimes, but it is
I
possible.
don't feel confident adding anymore. I just think this
layer.
is...
And I think I'm just going to, with the selection,
just a bit
freehand,
much.
Maybe just grab a section here. 3 fingers down. Again, 3 fingers down. Copy.
Oh, are you doing the copy thing again?
Paste. I'm going to move that around. Maybe flip it horizontally. It's not too.
He's also using Procreate, which I'm not using, so
duplication. I think I just need something else there.
My setup is so different.
Interesting mounting-wise. I don't want to necessarily interfere with too much. Maybe something a little bit more there. I think that kind of works. Maybe duplicate that layer again and the top version. Move it, flip it horizontally. Maybe freeform, stretch it out. Put something there. Obviously, I've mixed them together, so I'm going to have to go back in with the eraser just to remove the bits that perhaps I don't think I need. So I don't need some of that section. Don't need that bit.
Someday I'll be able to figure out all these controls here.
Don't need all of that, so I don't want this bit of it. I just wanted the tall bits, really. I think overall that works a bit better.
Love to attempt.
So again, I can take the top layer,
a little lighter beams,
down,
but
the two new additions there. Click on it, merge it down, and again, everything is now on that layer and that layer underneath it. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer, layer 12. I'm going to go back to the artistic Aurora brush. I'm going to go in with the first colour on the end again. I'm going to put the size at top end of 2%, and I'm going to put the opacity at 50%. And I'm just going to bring in some dashes across here. In fact, I'm going to put the brush size a little bit higher, maybe about 4%. And I'm just going to start bringing in some sideways, quite long dashes across, just to get a kind of base section of this nice dark green. I'm going to just have a few bits that stick out, jut out here. If I zoom in just a little bit, you can see it's just come a little bit stray of the main bank.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Something like that. I'm then going to switch colour to the second colour. I'm going to turn this second colour down on its opacity though, to about 20%. And I'm just going to start subtly and light gestured, bringing in some of this lighter green here a little bit. Just some bands across. Maybe a couple over the ones that stick out on their own. And then going to switch to a more vibrant colour. Maybe go for the one on the very end. It really is quite extreme, but we'll try it anyway. I'm keeping it at the low opacity anyway. So we're just adding a touch of that in, just lightly adding this and letting my hand glide more than the pencil. So you can probably hear that. And I'm just occasionally just tapping in some of that light green. I want to be light with it. So not only is it a light green, but I'm very light with my touch. I'm going to switch back to a slightly warmer colour, so the second from the right, and just maybe a hint of this in the mix as well. I can take this a little bit further back and just create some more kind of dapple texture, go kind of up and down to create different textures in here. Leave some gaps. Again, just go over some of these top surfaces a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go back to the tree layers. So I've got layers 11 and layers 9. I'm going to take layer 11, tap on it, and click merge down. Now all the trees mostly should be on one layer, but there are some details behind it, so maybe I'll just do that again. So tap on it, merge down.
Oh, like that.
And why not do it again? So tap on it, merge down. I've got all of that top feature on one layer now. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to go to the transform tool and flip it vertically. And before I move it down, I'm just going to click on the freeform and just squash it slightly so it takes up a little less room at the bottom. And then I move it down, just slightly squash it. I think it works a little bit better for our purposes, like that. And then with that entire layer, I'm going to go to the adjustments. I'm going to blur it to the side about 15%. Now notice it's just removed it from this edge. It's slightly just brought it away from there. So simply I just go to the smudge tool, make sure it's on something like the medium brush with an airbrushing down to, I don't know, 2% size, 100% opacity, and you can just push the colours off the edge again on this side, so just so it doesn't look strange. The next thing I'm going to do is with my selection tool, freehand, I'm going to leave this section of the trees here because I want that to remain largely in focus and less blurred, but I'm just going to take the next section,
You did wrong.
something like this, draw around it. You could have done with a rectangle, I suppose, but anyway, I've done it with the freehand selection tool. Back to the adjustments, back to the motion blur. I'm going to blur that in even further, so maybe somewhere about the 20%. Tap off it so you can see the result. I think that's just working a bit better. I'm just going to go back to the top layer, back to the adjustments, back to the Gaussian blur this time, blur it in, maybe about 3%, go back to layer 8, adjustments, Gaussian blur, again blur it in to about 3%. It just means when you zoom in to some of the textures, they're not too sharp. If you want to go in and manually sharpen up some of it, then you can do. I'm going to go to my top layer, create another layer on top, layer 11 now, strangely, because I've done all sorts of odd things with merging layers. I'm going to go to my brushes, the leatherwood brush. I'm going to put it down to 2% size, and about 40% strength, opacity.
Smudgy again.
And I'm using the third colour from the right on the bottom row. And then I'm just going to use this now just to bring in some sharper highlights, a little bit more variety of texture. It just feels a little bit monotonous in this area, so I just feel like I need some things just to pop. And I'm also going to create a sense that there's a top area, and then underneath it there's like a reflection version of it. So if we've got anything that sticks up like long grass, then it's got a top version, and then in the reflection it's got another version too. So just at the bank there, maybe just light taps to create some kind of bushes and things that might just be sticking up there as well. Okay, I'm going to leave this painting here at this point for YouTube. If you want to take this image a little bit further and add some more detail, then there is an extended version of this over at my Patreon. The link for that is down in the video description, where I'm just going to add some more elements and some finer details. I hope this has been interesting and useful to watch. Before you go, please give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and don't forget the bell notification, and I shall see you back here soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Well, that's it, peeps. You know? Not too bad. It's not the worst. I don't think it's too bad. Let's make it big. Let's bring it over here. You know, it's something. It's something. We tried. This is not the worst. It's not the best. That's not gonna be making me millions of dollars, but you know, it was something. Honestly, I think I'd have more fun with an actual canvas and acrylic paints or something. But I want to try to do digital stuff too. But yeah, let's give it a save. Do a save. Let's call it Mountain Lake. Mountain Lake, there we go. So yeah, maybe we'll be doing more of this on our Thursday night den nights. Could be fun, could be fun. I'm gonna charge as a bitch up now. But yeah, that's it. We're done. Goodbye. We will see, fix my camera because it's stupid today for whatever reason. It just wanted to not cooperate. And then we had a nice cat cam until Gigi left, you know. As he does. But we'll go raid Sneeboo since they're on. Go show some love. If you have to raid and run, that's alright. Do your thing. Self-care. Do what you gotta do. And I think we'll be back tomorrow with some more Team Rock and Run with Faye. And if we finish that, then did raid not work? Raid, Steve. Okay, that was weird. Did I do something weird? I don't know. Don't know what I did there. But anyways, yes, we'll be back tomorrow. Team Rocket Run. And then eventually I guess we'll be stuck with Gabe doing some Pokemon there too. Done. Stuck with the nerd. Alright, that's all for now, folks. See y'all.